Hey guys, Glenn here, and what goes in my pack? I don't know. What does go in my pack? Let's see. So, I was getting ready to go out this weekend. The weather was looking like it was going to be pretty nice. One of the locations we were going to go to ended up having no access. We were going to do a 14-mile loop. Shenandoah National Park, Skyline Drive is closed, so couldn't get to that trail. Anyhow, we decided not to go because the weather can't make up its mind. We got more snow yesterday. It's going to warm up. The snow that came down yesterday and the snow that's been there is going to start melting, and it's going to be a mud fest. So we just decided to skip it, but I had my gear out. I was getting ready to pack it up, and I thought I would share with you what's in my pack for a weekend in this kind of weather. Here's the pack. So I'm going to go ahead and set up and show you what goes in this thing for a weekend trip, and whether we were anticipating, I would say 40s and maybe low 30s, upper 20s. So let's get to it, and I'll show you what I carry. Alright, to start with, the pack. So this is the pack that I was going to take out this weekend. It's a Z-Pack Arcall Zip. So, see if I can flatten it out a little bit here. So this pack is a 64-liter pack. It's made out of what they call grid stop. It's a Dyneema fabric. It's the Arcall Zip, and I really love this pack. This is the one I use the most, and the reason they call it the Arcall Zip, there's an Arcall, which is the same pack, other than the fact that this one, the front panel, main body of the pack zips open. Okay, so that's access to the entire pack. Once it's packed up, you can zip it open and you can grab or, see everything that's in there. So this is the pack that I use the most. This pack's got probably close to 1,000 miles on it. Has a large outside pocket, and then it comes without this. These pocket here on each side. This pocket on the shoulder strap. There's two of these Cuban fiber pockets on the waist belt, and an added lumbar pad. So those are added items. It puts this pack close to 40 ounces, so it's about 2 pounds 8, somewhere around there. It has this suspension panel. I'm not going to do a whole total go over of the pack, but very comfortable pack. It's a typical roll top pack. So what that is just a bag, and the top velcros together, and you roll it down and flip it off. So there's the pack, and that is number 1 of the 4-piece basic kit, or your main 4. So your main 4 is going to be your pack, your tent, your sleeping bag, and your sleeping pad. Those are the main things that add up to the most weight, and they're the things that always remain but can change as far as your sleeping bag, what you're going to carry, temperature rating, type of pad. If it's summertime, you don't need an insulated one, that kind of stuff, which we'll get into in other videos. So how I would pack this up, the gear that I was going to take, we'll go ahead and set it out, and I'm going to start from the beginning and go through it all, and then maybe we'll pack it all in the pack so I can put it away. Well, we took a look at the pack real quick. So this is the rest of the main 4 plus 1 that I would carry. So the first thing is a sleeping bag. Underneath all this is my REI Igneo 17 So it's a down bag, it's a 700 fill, and it's a 17-degree temperature rating. So what that basically means is at 17 degrees I'm going to start getting cold, and below that it's actually past the transition point. The bag will keep you warm down to about 28, and from 28 to 17 is where it's transitioning. It's getting to the point where it's getting cold enough where this bag will not keep me warm, and below 17 you're in risk factor then. But the sleeping bag can be supplemented with your layers, your clothing, and you know, a puffy jacket, and you're going to stay warm. You're going to increase the level that this sleeping bag is going to be able to protect you in. So that's the sleeping bag I chose for this trip. Then for this trip I was going to take my Nemo tent. This is a Nemo Veda 1. It's a one-person trekking pole tent. So that means that it takes my hiking poles to set it up. There's no tent poles for it. Haven't used this tent in probably about a year, but it's a little thicker on the material, so for colder weather, even though it's a 3-season tent, this one's done really well for me. So my shelter, you know, my sleeping bag, and then my sleeping pad. Those are the 4 top guys, you know. That's what starts determining your base weight, which again we'll get to in another video. This is a sleeping pad. It's a Thermarest Z-Lite, and it's closed cell foam. A lot of people use these strictly as their only sleeping pad. I can't, you know, it's just too thin, but I carry it because it does 2 things for me. One, it's a utility mat, you know. I'll put it out and I'll put my gear on it, I'll sit on it, you know, I use it around the fire, I use it when we stop on the trail, you know, sitting on cold rocks or whatever on the ground. This is a good thing to have. So I use this for a lot of things, but then when it comes time for sleeping, this goes under my sleeping pad. It gives me another little bit of comfort, but it works good in the winter because I'll put the silver up and it's another barrier from the cold ground, and it's reflecting whatever heat back onto me. But the nice thing about it is it's got a bumpy surface. So the bumpy surface locks to the floor of the tent a little better than the nylon that's on the sleeping pads, and it stops from sliding around. So this will lock to the tent floor, and then the sleeping pad has a better chance of staying in place sitting on this. Now sliding around in a tent sucks, you know. You get on a grade that you think was flat when you set up, and you get in there and the next thing you know you're sliding all over the tent. You're losing the sleeping pad, it's going one way, you're going another. It's no fun. So especially when you roll around all night like I do. So I've actually taken some elastic straps that I made to go around this pad and around this pad when this pad's on it, to keep the 2 pads together, and then we'll see if I stay on it. So then my sleeping pad of choice for this trip is the Axle Air by Big Agnes. It's an insulated pad. It's 20 inches wide, 72 inches long, and it's like 2.5 inches thick, you know. So this is insulated. I don't need this, but it does help, so I carry the 2. And then this is my pillow. This is a Cocoon travel pillow. It's a medium. It's a blow-up pillow. It's like a fleece-covered airbag. Gotta have it, you know. So there's my sleeping pads and my tent, my pillow, and my sleeping bag. So now we'll get into you know, the other gear that I take. But this is this stuff. Okay, well, let's take a look at clothes and stuff that I would carry. So first thing, we'll just, you know, I threw these up here. These are the boots that I would wear. These are made by Keen. These are the Keen Durand waterproofs, so they're called Keen Durand WP. I really like Keen boots. Can't say enough about them, how good they are. You know, they're kind of expensive. These are close to 200 bucks, but you know, I've had these for a couple years. They have a lot of mileage on them, and they're still just as comfortable and supportive as they were new. These boots, you don't really even have to break them in. I put them on and I did a 50-mile hike for 3 days, so no problems with them. The nice thing about Keens is they're kind of wide too. They run a little wide, and I have a wide foot, so that makes them more comfortable. And this particular line of boot has an extra shank in it too, so it's real good support on rocks and stuff. So those are the boots I take. And then this is just a piece of fleece that was cut off the roll, you know, at Walmart. Just enough to use as a little cover, you know, hanging out around the fire at camp, because keeps the cold air off your back. And you know, something that I don't carry always, but if I feel like, you know, hey, might want it for some comfort, that's an extra comfort item, but I'll take that. It's kind of heavy, so I have to consider whether I'm going to carry that or not due to weight. And then clothing, you know, I don't take a lot of extra clothing. The biggest thing I take is extra socks. Might take an extra shirt if I think I'm going to be sweating, you know. But mostly, all the clothing that I carry is on me, you know, and it's layered. So if I need to take some off and put it in my pack, that's fine, you know, and then I put it back on if I need it. So you kind of get to know what you're going to need to take and not, but I've found that taking a bunch of extra clothes is just extra weight that you never use. The biggest thing I consider taking is additional socks, you know. So these socks are made by Darn Tough, and they're merino wool. And when they say Darn Tough, that's it, you know. These, in my mind, and many others, the best sock you can possibly buy. I don't use anything but these. They're not real cheap, but they're guaranteed for life. For life. If you rip a hole in these, wear them out, do whatever to them that wrecks them, they'll give you a new pair for life. So I've got some that have, geez, I don't know, pushing 1,000 miles on them, and they're still like brand new. So I'm sold on the Darn Toughs. I even wear their work grade ones for work, because you just can't beat them, you know. So I'll take an extra pair of socks. I also take, most of the time I'll carry an extra pair of liners, which I don't have out here right now. I think they were in the wash. So I wear toe liners, which is a toe sock. Individually separate your toes to prevent blisters, and then the liner prevents blisters on the rest of your foot. And they're made by Injinji, and we'll see those in other videos. But I always do the liners with the socks. Then I've thrown in here a pair of gym pants, you know. These are just nylon gym pants that I might wear as a layer, you know, kind of around camp to block the wind, or I'll wear them when I'm sleeping. Take my hiking pants off, stuff them down in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and then put these on if I need a little bit of block from wind or keep some heat in. Then I have a little fleece beanie, a little Under Armour beanie, and I'll sleep with this on. And then this time of year I have an additional head cover. This is the Inferno. It's basically a balaclava, but it's for construction use. It's a hard hat liner. a winter gear hard hat liner I get at the supply house. They're real comfortable, nice and warm. So I'll sleep with that and a beanie. And then the bag that they all go in is just a Cuban fiber bag. I'll put all my clothes in the Cuban fiber because it's waterproof. I know where that is. Then another outer layer if I need it, but it's mainly in there to sleep in. Take off all my other stuff and put this on if I need to increase the sleeping bag's value. This is a down 700 down fill Marmot jacket, and I have a pair of fleece insulate gloves in the pockets that I always carry because I'll sleep with the gloves on too. I like to, I'm kind of mostly, you know, my shoulders and my hands and my head are out of the sleeping bag. I don't like sleeping down in a mummy sleeping bag. So I got to keep my hands warm too. So this can work, you know, on the trail if I need to add a layer, but it's primarily for around camp when I'm not moving too much and for sleeping in. So that's that. I got a spare pair of gloves that I use for utility stuff around camp, and you know, to help keep my hands a little bit warm. There's no insulation value to these. Actually, your fingers can get pretty cold in them. They're by Firm Grip. They're just work gloves, good for gathering firewood and so forth. But I will carry, you know, I always know that I got the fleece gloves in here, but if my hands are going to be out a lot, because I use walking poles, I wear mittens, you know, this time of year in the cold, because gloves will not keep your fingers warm. So I'll take a pair of mittens. And then my hat would be the wool Sherpa hat. This is an Everest. Love these things. These things are so comfortable and very warm, you know. So that's my hat. And then I always, I hike in and wear this around camp. It's a fleece jacket by Red Ledge. I've had this about 13 years and it's my favorite coat. Can't go without it. Nice thing about it also, one thing you look for on outer layers is pit zips. So you can regulate your temperature without taking off the jacket, you know. If I get hot, I'll open the front zipper and zip down the pit zips and let some air in. So that's basically it on my clothing. I wear all synthetics, basically, under layers, outer layers. I wear hiking pants with the zip off legs that convert, you know, to shorts. If it's going to be muddy, I might take a pair of gaiters, you know, keep the mud off my legs. And that's really pretty much it on clothing. I don't haul around anything I don't need, you know, and every trip's different. Every trip will have a different loadout, so to say, but a lot of the same basic stuff. So most of this time of year, all of this goes every time. I might add another down layer. I might add, you know, like a pair of flannel pajama pants, basically, you know, for sleeping in. I always have a bandana on my pack, so I didn't show that here, but yeah, this is basically it for clothing. Alright, so now we're kind of getting to just the oddball stuff, you know. I'm going to start over here. Got a thermal pad that I made out of a piece of Reflectix, and I got Gorilla Tape around it. Gives you something to sit on. It's a barrier. You can cook on top of this with your stove, keep the ground temperature away. And then if you're doing dehydrated meals, you can take the pouch, set it inside here. I wrap it up, and then I set it to let it rehydrate, and it keeps it warmer longer. So a lot of uses for this. Best thing is, you know, sitting on it. So there's the pad. You know, gotta have toilet paper, some wet wipes, and a little bit of hand sanitizer. That'll go on the outside of the pack. Another Cuban fiber bag. This has my first aid stuff and my personal hygiene, you know. And then there's a elastic, like an ace bandage in there in case I trash my ankle again. But yeah, my first aid kit's, can't really see it in there, but it's a giant pill bottle. That's it, you know? That's all you need. So that's that stuff. Then for fire, I always carry a little bit of fat wood, and with the wet conditions, I use a little booster thing, you know. I've got like 3-4 pieces fat wood, and then this is military trioxane in case I need it. That's it for fire making stuff. In here is a line, a couple carabiners, little tiny S-clips basically, and this is a toss bag. You put a rock in it and you chuck it up in the tree, and I do a 2-tree system, you know, with my lines. So there's a couple lines in here, but this is my bear bag food suspension kit. So that's that. Then got a pair of cheater glasses, a map of the area that I'm going to be in, and that all goes in here. And that'll go in one of the outside pockets on my pack so I can grab it quick. That's also Cuban fiber, but the map is waterproof. Then this is another Cuban fiber bag. This goes in the bottom of my pack, and I stuff my sleeping bag in it. And then I'll use it to put my food bag and everything in to send up into the tree. So I'll hang this in the tree with the bear line. So that's your bear line, your mat, fire kit. The Helinox Chair Zero. This is a really comfortable chair that is a comfort item. It's just over a pound with the bag, worth every ounce to haul it, you know. You're sitting off the ground. It's a nice little suspension chair. We'll see that in other videos set up. Mora HD Companion. This is the one I take, only knife, you know, I haul around with me backpacking. Does everything I need it to do, and I have a repair needle on the back of it that's been on there for years. I haven't had to use it yet, but one day, you know. So got the needle, got plenty of cordage in my kit to strip down if I need to do some repairs and need some thread. I can definitely get something, or maybe some dental floss if I have it with me. But knife and repair needle, my Baco Laplander. Now this is a maybe not, you know. Most of the time, especially in the summer, I'm not carrying this thing. I don't need it. Don't make a fire half the time anyway. In the winter, it's nice to be able to process some wood, but most of it I just break in a tree crotch anyway. So this one, depending on what my total weight will go, if I want to drop off almost, you know, a pound, I'm not sure off the top of my head what this weighs, but I'll take this out in the kit. Next thing on the pile is my walking poles. These are my trekking poles. Black diamond ergo cork with the click locks. You know, click locks are the best. The twisty ones fail. You know, and then I've got some wraps of Gorilla Tape on both of them. Comes in handy for repair, you know. Gotta have it, so it's always with me there. And I've also put reflective tape around here. So if I stand these for any reason at night, you hit that with your headlamp and it glows, lets you know where it's at. It's really bright. And then this one has a GoPro mount on it. So these are for holding me up and also holding up my tent. If you remember, there's no poles for the tent. I didn't show the stakes, but I used groundhog stakes. So there's my trekking poles. Next would be lighting. Now, basic lighting, I would just carry a headlamp. And for this trip, I was going to take a black diamond. It gets dark so fast now, this time of year, that I might carry an extra tactical flashlight with me, just to see around. Last trip I I took my good old UCO lantern. It's kind of nice to have in the tent. You know, again, it gets dark early and you're stuck in the tent for a while sometimes, so save the headlamp battery and have a lantern. This actually doesn't weigh a whole lot more than my Lucy inflatable. The only difference is one you have to buy batteries, the other one charges solar, you know, but this is brighter. My Spot Gen 3 always goes with me. It's a locator beacon. If you're not familiar with Spot, this thing will allow me to send home 2 separate preset text messages just by pushing the button. So my wife can receive either a text message or an email or both telling her, you know, I made it to camp, or we're breaking camp and we're on our way home and I'll call you when I can, that kind of stuff. It's however you set the message up. What I really like about this is it tracks me. So if I hit the button to have it track me, every 5 minutes it puts a point, you know. So and then I come home and I look at the computer and I can see my exact path, you know, see right where I went. Or she can go and log in and see exactly where I am. Or if I have a problem, say I get hurt, she can see where I'm at, plus then I flip over this little flap here and push the SOS button. This is a direct connection to a satellite. You pay for that service, but it comes with search and rescue insurance for $100,000. Hope I never really need to find out how well it works, but hey, it's peace of mind, you know. So that's my Spot, that always goes. I have another nav system, which we'll look at another time, called Beartooth, which is really cool. Then another thing is a 10,000 milliamp battery charger for the phone, so I can, you know, do pictures and videos, whatever, not kill the phone. And then the other electronic thing, gotta have it, is my iPod with my tunes. So that's for sleeping, you know, loaded up with Pink Floyd. Yep. So that's kind of the miscellaneous stuff. Next thing we'll take a look at, it's probably going to be just the stove and the cook set. And then food would vary, obviously. And then that's it, guys. You know, so this is what I carry in the miscellaneous. You know, a lot of this stuff will go on the outside of the pack for quick grab. The toilet paper, that goes in. This is outside, you know. Now, sometimes I might only take the headlamp, and sometimes I might not take that big charger. So kit items vary, you know. Every time it's going to change, but it generally ends up being the same type of stuff. Okay, well, we're getting down to the last of the stuff that would go in the pack, so we'll look at the water stuff. So I carried 2 Gatorade bottles on this trip. It's either I'm going to have Gatorade bottles or Smart Water bottles. Smart Water bottles hold a little more water, like 27 ounces, I think, for the big one. These are just a little thicker, so in the winter I'll take the thicker plastic. So this is all the water I would carry, maybe only one, depending on where I'm going to pass water, because water's weight, man, a lot of weight. So I have 2 Gatorade bottles. Then my filter for this trip would be the Katadyn Be Free. Been using this now for about 2 years, I guess, since it came out. And it screws into this bag. This is a Hydro Pack 2-liter bag, but as you see, it's pretty supple, you know. I like this bag better than the Sawyer, and we'll look at that in a second. So part of my water kit is the filter. This is for drier times, so it's just a cut-off beverage bottle, but it's a dip cup, you know. You will find yourself where you need this to fill this in the drier months. And then I have a little Reflectix koozie. This was originally made for the Sawyer, but this goes over top of that. And then my Sawyer squeeze would fit down inside there. And that's to keep it from freezing, or help keep it from freezing. Now this bag, great in the winter. This bag, the Sawyer, here, I mean, this thing's never soft. So in the winter, it's even worse. So I got away from the Sawyer for a couple reasons. This filter flows so much faster than this one that this one is the one to use. Plus it's a better bag system. They both filter to the same degree. One nice thing about this compared to this, okay, you got one little hole here where the water goes in. Alright, this thing's got like 38 of them, you know. So essentially the whole filter media is exposed. So that makes it flow faster for one thing, but what if it freezes? Okay, so if this thing freezes up, and my preferred method is filtering, I don't have time to sit around boiling water, you know, that just doesn't happen. Plus, if you need it cold, you got to wait for it to cool down too, or you got to put it in a container back in the creek to cool it down. It's just boiling water, backpacking is out, you know. But if this freezes, there's nothing wrong with heating up a little bit of water and putting this in it. This is going to thaw out a whole lot faster than this thing, you know, because you basically have to warm this entire filter up, or you open it up if you can when it's froze and expose the filter media, you know, but it's still a cartridge, you know, so trying to thaw this thing out is going to be a lot tougher than trying to thaw this thing out. So this thing doesn't go with me anymore. If you notice one thing on here, on the cap, it's got a little bit of, whoop, there it went. It had a little bit of yellow tape on it. You put that clear cap down somewhere, and that yellow tape's going to help you find it. So the reason I brought the Sawyer out was to show you kind of the difference in the two and why this is the better choice in the winter. You know, you can thaw it out. But the little koozie helps to keep it warm, especially if you put it inside your jacket or keep it in your sleeping bag at night. So for water, we got the bag to filter. That all goes in this on the outside of the pack. And then I carry a little towel to wipe it off with, you know. So we'll put that aside. Then for this trip, I chose to take the Jetboil Minimo. There ain't no better stove out there, you know. I use a Pocket Rocket a lot, or I use a BRS Titanium, but this time of year, when it's cold, this is the most efficient stove, in my opinion, that you can buy. It uses very little fuel and water boils quickly. The only difference with the Minimo is it's a shorter pot, and it has a simmer burner on it, so you can turn the burner down versus the other Jetboils that are just wide open. But other than, like, you know, the Wind Burner by MSR, which is a similar style stove, nothing boils water faster than these. And in the winter, you got to boil it fast, and you got to conserve your fuel, you know. So here's the fuel. I usually wrap it all up, you know, in this bandana and put it in a separate stuff sack. So that's the stove and the fuel. This is just a piece of a yoga mat. Keeps the cold from getting to your fuel. You know, it's a barrier from the ground. So there's a stove support. This little dude here goes on the bottom of that, but that keeps you from going right directly on the ground. Nothing special in here. It's just the burner, and there's a French press for coffee that sits down in there. So the Minimo, Jetboil Minimo, was the stove that I would take. Got a little piece of leather here. That's goes in the cook kit all the time because I use it to grab the handles on the pots if I'm on the other stove. Got a P51 can opener. And then I chose to take a titanium plate. So you can put this on top of the stove with the pot support, throw a tortilla in there, warm it up, put some filling on it, and you know, make a burrito. Trail food, man. So you can cook on that a bunch of different ways on top of this stove. You just put the pot support on top of the burner. And you can eat out of it too, I guess, considering that's a plate. But and then for my cup is a Snow Peak 450 titanium double wall. This is a double wall cup with a cup cover. And because I'm just going to use this for drinking, you know, coffee, hot chocolate, whatever. And that double wall stays warm a real long time. So I've actually got one container here, you know, I mean I could eat and drink out of this pot, no problem. But I like to keep a pot available for boiling water only, you know. And then my cup. And then I usually take at least, if I'm using that, I'll take at least one titanium pot. This is a, I think it's 1100 millimeter. I got others in here, they're just sitting in there. They all nest, you know. Sometimes if I take the pocket rocket, I'm going to take all these, or most of them, you know. I'll take the large one. This is a 900, this is a 600, which I can use as a cup as well. It's been in the fire plenty of times. All have koozies. The 900 and the 1100 have pan lids. So I might take one of these along with me, you know. Titanium spoon, the Optimus long reach, so you can get down in the dehydrated food bag. This, maybe not. This is just a knife that I carry sometimes for cutting food, and a little MSR cutting board, which is also great for fanning the fire. This thing stoke up the fire quick. But if I'm going to take certain foods, like, you know, say we're going to take real food like cheese and sausage or something like that, I'll take these two. Then a little cleanup towel, a little camp soap, and a little two-sided sponge Scotch-Brite pad for cleaning up. And that is pretty much it, fellas. The next thing that will go in the pack is going to be the food, you know. So I think that covers pretty much all the gear that I would take out on a trip, be it an overnighter, 2 nights, even, you know, this kit a week, you know, easy. Only thing that you're adding to it is food, you know, food's the thing. And then, you know, depending on the weather, you might add a couple other things or take a few things out. But for this time of year, this would have been my loadout for this weekend, and probably just taking one of the pots in here because I wanted to goof around, practice cooking some others. So probably would have been the bigger one. So that's it. I'll cram it all in the pack and we'll throw it on the scale, and we'll see what we got. Okay, well, everything's in the pack, including that blanket. Obviously the hiking poles and the fleece jacket and the hat, the stuff that I wear, is not in the pack. The only thing it's lacking is water, which would probably be 2 pounds at the most. So that would take us up to 23 pounds, and then by the time I add food to it, probably maximum would be 27 pounds. So that's pretty much it. You know, I'd be carrying 27-pound load for wintertime camping, wintertime backpacking. It's mainly because of the heavier sleeping bag, the heavier tent, the additional clothing, the down jacket, the blanket, you know, all that stuff adds up. So that's pretty much where I'm at. appreciate you guys watching. This is basically what I would be running with on a cold weather backpacking trip. I try not to exceed 30 pounds.